Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate new Bhogapuram Airport in Andhra Pradesh and the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Youth Centre at Mysuru in Karnataka on Saturday. 60,000 migrants stormed Spain from Morocco in 24 hours. Military deployed as death toll hits 34. Hamas agrees to phased disarmament deal in Gaza under Trump-backed peace plan. Israeli far-right minister says deal unacceptable. And India approves $8.81 billion offshore oil and gas exploration plan as world grapples with energy shocks due to geopolitical tensions. First up, U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Thursday an agreement for the Hamas to disarm and Israel to withdraw its troops from the Gaza Strip as part of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire signed last year. Tripti Tripathi reports.
The ruins of conflict emerges a renewed push for peace. The United States has proposed a roadmap that envisions Hamas laying down its arms, Israeli troops withdrawing in stages, and an international force helping secure Gaza until a new Palestinian government takes the reign. In a post on Truth Social, US President Donald Trump cast it as a major milestone in the implementation of the Trump 20-point plan to end conflict in Gaza. The US President thanked mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey for helping broker the agreement. The Gaza Board of Peace said the Hamas has agreed to a roadmap. However, Hamas cushioned for peace on a note that it will not act until Israel approves a disarmament agreement. Israel's far-right National Security Minister on Friday slammed the deal, calling it unacceptable. Taking a look back on the journey of Board of Peace, Trump unveiled his 20-point peace plan on 29th of September last year. Member states get permanent membership by funding board's activities with $1 billion US. Trump holds extensive executive powers, including veto rights and ability to remove members. Trump's first meeting raised $7 billion US from member nations for Gaza's reconstruction fund. A board official announced plans for a pilot humanitarian zone for Gaza Palestinians. Members include Israel, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and other regional nations. India, China, Russia, Brazil, UK, France, Germany, and the EU refused to join. Germany, Australia welcomed the phased disarmament agreement in Gaza. European Union welcomed the deal but said success depends on the full commitment to all parties. The road to peace remains uncertain. Yet for millions caught in the conflict, this proposal represents a chance to replace years of violence with the promise of a more stable future. With agency inputs, to the party's report for DD India.
Tensions continue to mount in West Asia as the conflict between the US and Iran intensifies. Iran claimed fresh attacks on Kuwait and in the Strait of Hormuz, while US President Donald Trump convened a cabinet meeting to review the rapidly evolving situation. Rabindra Chauhan reports.
Hours after US strikes on Iran, tensions escalated further as Iran's Revolutionary Guards claimed it struck two oil tankers attempting to transit the Strait of Hormuz under US military air escort. The IRGC said two tankers were halted while four others turned back from the strategic waterway. Conflict widened as Iran claimed it launched drone strikes on US-operated Ahmad al-Jaber air base in Kuwait in retaliation for US attacks on Kashmir Island, while Kuwait's military said it intercepted and destroyed the drones, reporting no casualties. Meanwhile, the US Central Command said it continues to enforce maritime blockade against Iran. CENTCOM said 24 commercial vessels had been redirected while two ships were disabled and two others boarded during the operation. Amid the rising regional tensions, Saudi Arabia announced a 14-nation maritime coalition to protect key shipping routes across the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandab Strait, and the Gulf of Aden.
The impact for crude, and Saudi crude specifically, is significant. This is one of the only outlets for Saudi crude, and if it can't go south through the Bab el-Mandab Strait and it can't go north through the Suez Canal, it is trapped. And these are, every barrel is essential to the market at the moment. And if you take those out of the system, then we would definitely expect to see significantly higher prices.
The renewed fighting comes after the collapse of ceasefire talks in mid-June. In Washington, President Donald Trump convened senior officials at Camp David cabinet meeting as his administration faces growing domestic pressure over the military campaign against Iran. With military exchanges intensifying and regional security concerns mounting, the conflict continues to raise fears of wider instability across West Asia. Rabindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar spoke to his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi and conveyed India's deep concern over the escalating hostilities in the region. In a post on X, Minister Jaishankar urged that commercial shipping and seafarers must not be targeted under any circumstances, stressing that India condemns any such attacks. He said India was briefed on Iran's perspective and reiterated that New Delhi remains firmly supportive of dialogue and diplomacy. A sudden surge of migrants into Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta has sparked a major political and humanitarian challenge, prompting swift action from Spanish and Moroccan authorities. Spain's Interior Ministry says that more than 37,500 migrants have returned to Morocco from Ceuta. As border security is tightened and thousands are being returned, European leaders are closely monitoring the situation, which has reignited concerns over migration management, regional cooperation and the human cost of dangerous crossings. Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
Spain and Morocco reinforced the border fence around the Spanish enclave of Ceuta on Friday, effectively halting mass crossings after an unprecedented surge saw nearly 60,000 people arrive by land and sea in a single day. At least 34 dead bodies were found in the water following the crossings.
To be honest, I don't even know why I have came. I am heading back now. It is as simple as that. Right now, I have not eaten since lunch yesterday, although I did bring some money with me just for taxis and stuff.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez strongly condemned what he called a violation and attack on Spain's territorial integrity, following the recent mass crossing of migrants into the country.
We define what happened yesterday as an attack, a violation of Spain's territorial integrity. Ceuta is a Spanish city, and what happened yesterday deserves our strongest possible rebuke and condemnation. We reject, condemn, and regard as deplorable the violation and attack on the territorial integrity of a Spanish city, namely the city of Ceuta.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the European Union is in contact with Moroccan authorities to resolve the crisis caused by the huge number of migrants who crossed into Ceuta. She described the images emerging from the enclave as unacceptable. British Prime Minister Andy Burnham said on Friday that the situation in Spain relating to migrant crossings is concerning.
It's a concerning situation, and I know people will see those scenes and want something to be done, more to be done. What I have done is firstly keep the current Home Secretary in place, because the plan she has implemented has started to make a difference.
However, France said that it stands ready to help Spain deal with the sudden influx of migrants into Ceuta. A presidential aide said that President Emmanuel Macron ordered authorities to strengthen controls at the border with Spain. As Spain and Morocco work to prevent further crossings, attention remains focused on the humanitarian impact of the crisis and the broader challenges facing Europe's migration policies. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of using a North Korean-made missile in one of its latest attacks, saying that preliminary evidence indicates the weapon was fired at the village of Radushna, where 6 people were killed. In his nightly address on Thursday, President Zelensky said that it was the first known use of a North Korean missile by Russia in some time. He condemned what he called the growing military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang, accusing the two governments of working together to support Russia's war effort. The allegation came after Russia launched one of its largest overnight attacks on Ukraine, firing dozens of missiles and hundreds of drones at targets across the country. Meanwhile, Ukraine's drone campaign inside Russia has affected civilian infrastructure and businesses. Russia's second largest e-commerce company, Ozon, said it evacuated workers from its warehouse in the town of Zelenolsk in the Tatarstan region after a Ukrainian drone alert. In Pakistan, a blast at a coal mine killed at least 34 workers as rescuers searched for the missing. The explosion, suspected to be caused by methane gas stored through the mine in Balochistan on Thursday, sparking a rescue operation that ran through the night. Mining accidents are common in Pakistan, particularly in Balochistan, and labor rights movements have previously called for ramped up safety standards and enforcement for the sector. Pakistan's poorest province and largest by landmass, Balochistan lags behind the rest of the country in almost every index, including education, employment and economic development, but is rich in resources including coal as well as more lucrative gold and copper reserves. 4 bodies have been recovered after a devastating avalanche struck Broad Peak, the world's 12th highest mountain in Pakistan's Karakoram range. Search and rescue operations are continuing for climbers still missing, including renowned Nepal-born mountaineer and former Royal Marine Nirmal Purja, who was leading a 10-member international expedition. The team included climbers from Nepal, Pakistan, the US, China and Oman. Authorities have not yet confirmed the identities of the recovered bodies as rescue efforts continue amid challenging conditions. Professor Shiley Huang from the US has been awarded more than $500,000 in funding from the National Science Foundation for a research project being carried out in collaboration with India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to develop advanced technologies for precision soybean breeding. It will run from October 2026 to September 2029. The project aims to build an AI-powered system to improve soybean breeding and farming. Researchers will use smart sensors and AI to monitor crop, soil and weather conditions. The project includes researchers from universities and agricultural institutes in the US and India, including IIT Delhi and the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Still to come on DD India Newshour. Curfew widens in Nepal after fresh protests erupt. India's Foreign Secretary calls on Bhutan's King and Prime Minister in Thimphu. And the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo becomes the world's second largest on record.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's aviation map is set to expand with a major milestone. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the Alluri Sitaramma Raju International Airport at Bhogapuram and unveil development projects worth nearly 18,000 crore rupees on Saturday. The projects aim to boost connectivity, infrastructure, clean energy and industrial growth across Andhra Pradesh. Taposh Bhattacharya with this report.
What if one airport could transform the future of an entire region? On the 1st of August, Andhra Pradesh is set to witness a historic milestone as Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates the Alluri Sitarama Raju International Airport at Bhogapuram. Developed under the public-private partnership model at a cost of over 5,640 crore rupees, this state-of-the-art greenfield airport is designed to handle 6 million passengers annually, strengthening connectivity for North Andhra and opening new doors for tourism, trade, investment and jobs. Built with cutting-edge technology, the airport features artificial intelligence, biometric passenger processing, automated baggage systems, airport predictive operations center, and smart operational monitoring for a faster, safer, and seamless travel experience. Sustainability is at the heart of the project, with a 5-megawatt solar power plant, rainwater harvesting, energy-efficient systems, electric vehicle charging, and green building standards. Its architecture reflects Andhra Pradesh's rich cultural heritage, inspired by traditional Chuttilu cottages and the scenic beauty of the Araku Valley. Prime Minister will also dedicate and lay the foundation stone of development projects worth over 17,900 crore rupees. These include Andhra Pradesh's first semiconductor manufacturing facility, major renewable energy transmission projects, and national highway projects that will improve connectivity, strengthen the power grid, and accelerate industrial growth. From world-class aviation infrastructure to clean energy, semiconductors, and highways, Bhogapuram marks the beginning of a new growth story, positioning North Andhra as a major gateway for India's future.
From connecting people to creating opportunities, from accelerating economic growth to placing Eastern India firmly on the global aviation map, Bhogapuram is ready for takeoff. And on 1st of August, India will witness the rise of a new gateway of the East. With campus and Vimlesha and Aniket, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Andhra Pradesh.
Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Youth Centre or Viveka Smaraka at Mysuru in Karnataka on Saturday. Built at the historic site where Swami Vivekananda stayed in 1892 before his journey to the Parliament of the World's Religions in the US city of Chicago, the centre aims to inspire young Indians through Swamiji's timeless spiritual teachings. Tanvi Taneja has more.
More than 130 years after Swami Vivekananda stayed at the historic Niranjan Mutt in Mysuru, the place is set to begin a new chapter. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Youth Centre, Vivek Samrak, developed by the Sri Ramakrishna Ashram to preserve Swami Vivekananda's legacy while inspiring a new generation of young minds. Mysuru occupies a special place in Vivekananda's life. It was here in 1892 that the young monk found encouragement from the Mysore royal family. The support extended by Maharaja Chamarajendra Vadiyar helped him undertake his historic journey to the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893, where his address beginning with the words "Sisters and Brothers of America" introduced India's spiritual tradition to the world. Spread across 81,000 square feet, the new center combines heritage with technology. It features a 4D immersive experience, exhibition galleries, a meditation hall, a library, classrooms, conference facilities, and a 700-seat amphitheater.
More than 150 Swamis will gather here, different center with our mission Swamis and other organization Swamis and VIPs. All the devotees of Karnataka and outside Karnataka also, those who are admirers of Swami Vivekananda, all will come and attend. We had a school of language, cultural activities and Indian tradition, everything we are going to teach, and this mainly personality development. So because Ramakrishna mission is Sarva Dharma Samanvaya, we are all equal to the entire globe.
Designed as a hub for leadership and value-based education, it is expected to host workshops, training programs, and cultural activities for thousands of youngsters across the world every year.
from this historic site where Swami Vivekananda once reflected on India's future, a new institution is set to inspire the youth of New India. Well, the inauguration of the Vivek Smarak by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday will mark another milestone in preserving one of India's most influential spiritual and cultural legacies while placing youth empowerment at the center. With Nishant Rai and Vicky Rajput, Tanvi Taneja for DD India in Mysuru.
The Cabinet has approved Samudra Manthan, the National Offshore Exploration Scheme, with an outlay of $8.81 billion to boost India's offshore oil and gas exploration. The initiative will support large-scale seismic surveys, deep-water and ultra-deep-water exploration and scientific drilling in unexplored basins. IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said the program will play a key role in enhancing India's energy security.
समुद्र मंथन भारत में ऑयल एंड गैस के एक्सप्लोरेशन और प्रोडक्शन का प्रोग्राम है और बहुत एम्बिशियस प्रोग्राम है। 84,000 करोड़ रुपीस का प्रोग्राम है। इसके दो कंपोनेंट है बड़े। तो पहला कंपोनेंट है ऑफशोर सीस्मिक डेटा एक्विजिशन, 28,000 करोड़ रुपीस का ये प्रोग्राम है। दूसरा कंपोनेंट है एक्सेलरेटेड ऑफशोर एक्सप्लोरेशन स्कीम, ये 43,200 करोड़ रुपीस का प्रोग्राम है। भारत में जितनी ऑयल और गैस की डिमांड बढ़ रही है उसके हिसाब से ये स्कीम और ये प्रोग्राम बहुत बड़ा एक गेम चेंजर होगा।
The Cabinet also approved the Pradhan Mantri Surya Sarovar Yojana, a scheme for the development of floating solar photovoltaic projects with energy storage systems with a total outlay of more than 5,000 crore rupees. Minister Vaishnav said that the project has a capacity of 102 gigawatts.
प्रधानमंत्री सूर्य सरोवर योजना में जितने वाटर बॉडीज हैं, डैम्स हो, लेक्स हो, कैनाल्स हो, उन सब का उपयोग करके जो सोलर पावर जनरेशन कैपेसिटी क्रिएट करना है उसका अप्रूवल लिया गया है आज। 102 गीगावाट यानी 1 लाख मेगावाट की कैपेसिटी पोटेंशियल है भारत में। इस स्कीम में टोटल 5,000 मेगावाट फ्लोटिंग सोलर पीवी फोटोवोल्टेइक कैपेसिटी भारत में क्रिएट की जाएगी और 5 साल की स्कीम में 1 करोड़ पर मेगावाट का इसका सपोर्ट दिया जाएगा इस स्कीम में।
India has condemned Pakistan's actions in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said that the Pakistani government is using ruthless force against civilians, leading to over 40 deaths. India urged the international community to scrutinize Pakistan's actions and hold it accountable for its atrocities.
The Pakistani establishment continues to unleash ruthless force against peaceful civilians in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This crackdown has resulted in the tragic death of over 40 innocent people. The so-called elections stand as a humiliating rejection of the Pakistani establishment facing a violent regime. The people there have requested international organizations for an independent investigation into the unlawful killings. We urge that the international community should scrutinize Pakistan's actions and hold it accountable for its atrocities.
Both houses of parliament were adjourned for the day after opposition uproar on alleged police action against protesters in New Delhi. Before the adjournment, the lower house passed the Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Bill 2026 by voice vote. Vishal Badisto reports. Uproar by the opposition continued to disrupt the proceedings of the Parliament of India in the second week of the monsoon session. The lower house on Friday gave approval to extend time for presentation of the report of the Joint Committee on the Constitution 130th Amendment Bill 2025, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2025, and the Government of Union Territories Amendment Bill 2025 up to the first day of last week of the winter session of Parliament 2026. Lok Sabha then took up the Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Bill 2026 for consideration and passage. Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai moved the bill amid the din. The bill was passed in the House amid ruckus without any discussion. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju criticized the opposition for not participating in the discussion.
हमने बार बार कहा कि चर्चा के लिए आप लोग सब इस हाउस में आइए और जनता ने हमको जनता का बात रखने के लिए इस सदन में भेजा है। मैं कांग्रेस के सारा साथियों से भी बार बार गुहार लगाया कि महत्वपूर्ण बिल पे चर्चा होना चाहिए, लेकिन अफसोस की बात है कि इतना महत्वपूर्ण रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ बर्थ एंड डेथ अमेंडमेंट बिल पे आज यहाँ पारित किया गया है लोकसभा के सदन में, लेकिन विपक्ष के साथियों ने किसी ने भी इस बिल के चर्चा में भाग नहीं लिया। ये दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है।
The Rajya Sabha or the upper house has also been adjourned till Monday over the same issue. When the Rajya Sabha assembled at 11 a.m., the house began with its usual business. Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Dr. L. Murugan, made a statement regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations contained in the 22nd report of the department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Communication and Information Technology on review of mechanism to curb fake news pertaining to his ministry. However, the opposition members began protests with sloganeering, pressing for their demands. Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan criticized the opposition members, saying they are creating disruptions on every issue and avoiding a discussion. He said that the opposition is undermining the dignity of the House and making a mockery of democracy.
केवल अराजकता फैलाना चाहता है, हंगामा खड़ा करना चाहता है, चर्चा से इनको कोई लेना देना नहीं है। हम इनकी घोर निंदा करते हैं माननीय सभापति महोदय। हर बात में हंगामा करना, हुल्लड़ फैलाना, सड़क छाप राजनीति करना और सदन की गरिमा को तार तार करना, ये इनका स्वभाव हो गया है। देश इनको देख रहा है और देश की जनता इनको कभी माफ नहीं करेगी माननीय सभापति महोदय।
As the ruckus continued, the chairman adjourned the House for this day till Monday, 3rd August.
After around 18 hours of marathon debate in both houses of the parliament, the Need Paper Leak Bill has been passed. The opposition's demand has been met, but still the logjam continues. Led by Congress, India bloc continues to rock both houses of the parliament. And today, only the Birth and Registration Amendment Bill could only be passed, and that too by a voice vote. With cameraman Radhe in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristro for DD India, Parliament House.
Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri called on Bhutan's king Jigme Khesa Namgyel Wangchuk during his visit to the kingdom. The Bhutanese king welcomed the progress in bilateral relations during the meeting. He also highlighted updates on the Gelefu Mindfulness City. The spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs said 2 agreements were signed during the Foreign Secretary's visit. The first agreement pertained to a line of credit. The second was concluded between the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in India and the Kesar Gyalpo University of Medical Sciences in Bhutan. Foreign Secretary Misri also met to call on the Prime Minister of Bhutan, Dasho Shering Tobgay, on Friday and discussed India-Bhutan cooperation in diverse fields. The two sides discussed all aspects of bilateral cooperation, including development partnership, energy, trade and investment, connectivity, people-to-people ties, as well as other regional issues of mutual importance. Foreign Secretary visited Bhutan on Thursday and co-chaired the 5th India-Bhutan Development Cooperation Talks for the 13th five-year plan of Bhutan. During the 5th plan talks, both sides reviewed the overall progress and implementation of India's support of 10,000 crore rupees for Bhutan's 13th five-year plan period. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's Ebola outbreak is now the world's second largest on record as transmission continues to outpace efforts to contain the epidemic. The number of cases reported across the country has risen to 3,532 with 1,556 deaths. According to the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in less than 3 months since the outbreak began, the disease has killed 5 times as many people as previous outbreaks had by the same stage. The outbreak is caused by the rare Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus, which has no approved vaccine or treatment. Nepal has imposed an indefinite curfew in parts of Saptari district after fresh protests erupted over the communal violence in neighbouring Sunsari district. With Saptari added to the list, 4 districts in the southern Terai region are now under curfew as authorities work to contain tensions that have claimed 3 lives. Prime Minister Balendra Shah has appealed for calm, assuring a fair and transparent investigation and strict action against those responsible. Security has been intensified along the India-Nepal border with stricter identity checks introduced in the Sarlahi district. And still to come on DD India Newshour. An expert take on Hamas agreeing to disarm if Israel withdraws from Gaza and allows reconstruction to begin.
Welcome to Delhi.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India News Hour, the developments in West Asia. Joining us is Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya. He is a former Indian envoy to Egypt, Turkey and Switzerland. Ambassador, welcome to DD India News Hour. Why don't we begin by putting the text of this deal into its proper context for our global audience? Could you break it down for them and demystify its main contours?
Well, I think this is a very significant achievement in terms of the understanding that has been achieved. But I think at the same time, there is a lot of apprehension that the text may not be followed. So essentially what the agreement seems to provide for, while the actual details will be worked out over the next 14 days, suggests that the minor militant groups in Gaza will be the first to disarm, followed by Hamas. And this would be, in a sense, be done simultaneously with the withdrawal of Israeli forces from that region. There are certain details that are available at this point of time. The Hamas had insisted the weapons to be handed over would be under Palestinian Authority and their jurisdiction. And it seems to mention about heavy weaponry, which will be inventorized and stored. This is a slight difference from what the Israeli Prime Minister had said, which goes down to even small arms, including rifles and such. The sequence of events is also something that is a little confusing at this stage because the final details are yet to be worked out. But overall, I would say this is a very welcome process.
Ambassador, for the benefit of our viewers, how did this deal actually come about? What do we know about who all were involved? What role did Trump's Board of Peace play? How long had these talks gone on? In other words, do we know the backstory?
Right. So as you know, there was a proposal to establish a Board of Peace. Some of it, as you know, is based on the Security Council Resolution 2803. And when the Board of Peace came, it essentially said that there would be truce, handover of hostages, and then that would be followed by the disarmament of Hamas and the withdrawal of Israeli forces. It would be at the same time also accompanied by the coming in of a transitory civilian administration of Palestinian technocrats to replace the Hamas control in the Gaza. It also talked about an international stabilization force, which would include both military and civil police elements. A number of countries had already committed military forces to them, and Egypt and others had committed to training the evolving police forces that were to take over. As you know, the reaction to this had been mixed. India, as you know, joined in the February meeting earlier this year as an observer, not as a full member. Our position on various issues and our position on Palestine as well. What we do see is that there was a further complication which came about because of the Iran war, which started at the end of February, which was immediately after this particular Board of Peace meeting had taken place. And that led to complications because some of the countries that had committed troops for the stabilization force actually withdrew and are holding that in abeyance. I think the important thing to note about this particular process is that these discussions and negotiations have continued for a very long period of time. They've been assisted to a very large extent by mediators from Qatar and Turkey, who have been holding these negotiations. As we know, the Hamas have also had a certain readjustment in their leadership profile after Yahya Sinwar was killed in Gaza, and they have a new leader and they have a new negotiator. And there seems that there is a certain willingness amongst the new Hamas leadership to adopt this particular approach. The reaction from the Gazan people, as we hear initially, seems to be that they are still skeptical. They want to see the action on the ground. The reaction from the Israeli side is also somewhat lukewarm. A Times of Israel report suggests that they will wait and see how this happens, and they have called for stringent measures. Also, as we know, the Prime Minister of Israel has not yet commented on that as far as I know.
Indeed. Let's now talk a bit, if you will, Ambassador, about Hamas. Hamas has spent decades building its political identity around armed resistance. Now, what specific political guarantees or future role within the broader Palestinian governance structure has Trump offered Hamas leadership to convince them to agree to a complete and phased disarmament?
So, as we know, there was an understanding in which the Palestinian Authority, which was the erstwhile Fatah, was supposed to take over and take charge of the administration of both the West Bank and Gaza. Over a period of time, the control of the Fatah elements began to weaken, and of course, there were many from the intelligence sections who worked seriously to undermine the unity of purpose of the Fatah. And this actually gave an opening to the more militant Hamas groups. The Hamas, as you know, has always had a more militant approach towards this particular issue. But there was a certain middle ground as well, and it was because of this that Israel actually accepted the authority of Fatah, of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and there was an arrangement under which funds would be transferred to Hamas for their administration and various other things. Over a period of time, of course, this became more acute, the differences, and we know what happened on the 7th of October. The Hamas, in fact, has actually had different strands within it, and as we know, the militant elements in Gaza are not just the Hamas. There are others as well, Islamic Jihad and others. While there are some that are more closely affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood and have closer ties with Turkey and Qatar, there are a few that are more closely tied with Iran. We often talk of the Hamas-Iran connection as the very deep one, but as we know, the Islamic Jihad is much more closely aligned in that particular context with Iran. So there is understandably a big shift that has happened in Gaza. What we also is that the Israeli activities in the West Bank of new settlers and displacement of townships over there of Palestinians has continued. And so this has developed a new dynamic, and not least the impact of what has been going on in the region following the Iran war.
Right, and shifting focus now to Israel, Ambassador, you are right, the Israeli government has not commented on the deal so far. Why is that so? Also, does the deal impose certain obligations on Israel in return for Hamas laying down arms?
Well, I think we have to understand that what happened on the 7th of October was a very deadly blow to the Israeli psyche. It signaled not only a failure of their intelligence and defense forces, but it also signaled a very impactful attack on their society and their existence. And so the retaliation that you saw was perhaps in some quarters considered more than disproportionate, but from the Israeli perspective, they had grave apprehensions about the intentions of Hamas and the Palestinians and how far this particular coexistence could continue. As we know that in the period between the 7th of October and now, over 70,000 people have been killed, including many who are civilians, women, and children. And even after the ceasefire, we know that over 1,200 people have been killed in the Palestinian, in the Gaza area. And this is something that is continuing whenever Israel finds evidence or intelligence information about activities or leaders, it conducts its operations. And beyond that, we know that there has been wide-scale destruction of habitation, hospitals, schools. And the other thing that has happened is that there are zones that have been developed within Gaza. Over a period of time, particularly in recent times, the Israelis have developed what is known as the yellow line. And this, in a sense, constricts the area where habitation can continue in the first phase. So as we recall, if you look at the earlier 20-point plan of the Gaza reconstruction, some of these reconstruction was supposed to be happening in areas like Rafah and others, which in a sense would be beyond that particular yellow zone, yellow line at present. And if there is, so this is something that was still unknown. The Israelis still feel very strongly threatened, and they're not convinced that Hamas has fully given up its old ideology. Its war with Iran is likely to continue in an on-off phase for a long time to come, as I can see. And so these particular proxies, as Israel believes, not only from Gaza, but also from other parts of the neighborhood, are what they see as potential threats. And therefore, while this particular idea is discussed and the final contours of how this disarmament is going to happen, the Israelis would be very careful about this.
And finally, Ambassador, I have just about enough time to ask you a quick question. How would New Delhi be looking at these developments? India has stakes in West Asia. India is in touch with all players, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE and others.
I haven't seen a reaction from the ministry yet, but I would expect that any moves that go towards de-escalation of conflict, leading towards peace and stability, would be welcomed. We had supported the 2803. We had supported various elements of the Gaza peace plan. We continue our support for the two-state solution. We have, in fact, also joined the UN resolution on settlements in the West Bank. So overall, the direction is there, but the contours, the details are not yet available, which will be available in a fortnight, I hope. So I think we would generally welcome this process towards peace and stability so that this region, which is our extended neighborhood, can provide the leverage that we hope will be not just for that region in our relations with the region, but beyond as we go towards Europe and the Americas and many others. And also in some ways it would provide a beacon, because there has been so much of dissatisfaction and the absence of hope in that region with agreements not being realized or not being maintained. We'd like to see that this one can hold its ground.
Right, we leave it there for now. Ambassador Bhattacharya, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's get you some more news here on DD India Newshour. The government of India has said ethanol blending shielded consumers from global crude oil price volatility and balanced food security, farmer welfare and energy security through the ethanol blended petrol program. It said that certain recent claims have presented an incomplete and misleading picture of the program. The government has clarified such issues and set out the factual position. When the Indian crude basket surged to around $135 per barrel, petrol without ethanol blending was projected to cost around 125 rupees per litre in New Delhi. Consumers paid 94.77 rupees per litre because 20% ethanol blending sourced domestically at stable prices cushioned the impact of soaring global crude prices. Nearly 30 rupees per litre in savings at the pump during the peak of the crisis, more than 1.97 lakh crore rupees in foreign exchange savings, substitution of over 316 lakh metric tons of crude oil imports. The government protected every grain needed for food security first and only then converted surplus and waste into clean energy. What actually goes into the ethanol program is the damaged grain, broken rice and food grain unfit for human consumption, stocks that would otherwise rot in warehouses. Now, ethanol is built around a flexible mix of approved feedstocks and not just around cheap rice. And last but not the least, the government turned waste into wealth, reducing imports and putting more money into the hands of the Indian farmer. And still to come on DD India Newshour. The Indian Army introduces special fuel to keep vehicles running in sub-zero temperatures. Asmita Day and Harsh Singh create history, win India's first ever judo gold medals at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Remember to save your.
We read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. In Jammu and Kashmir, one person was killed and another injured as terrorists opened fire on workers in Kulgam. Terrorists fired upon them in Kelam area of South Kashmir's Kulgam district on Friday evening. Officials told the terrorists targeted 2 workers in Kelam. The injured worker had been shifted to GMC Anantnag for advanced treatment. Security forces have cordoned off the area and launched a search operation to track the attackers. India has taken another step towards strengthening military preparedness in extreme weather conditions. The Indian Army and Bharat Petroleum have jointly developed an indigenous extreme weather grade diesel, a specialized fuel that remains operational even in sub-zero temperatures. The Indian Army chief launched the fuel on Friday. He called it a game changer for the armed forces.
From the icy heights of Ladakh to some of the world's most inhospitable battlefields, mobility can often determine the outcome of military operations. But in temperatures plunging well below freezing, conventional diesel begins to thicken, clogging fuel systems and affecting the movement of military vehicles. To overcome this challenge, the Indian Army, in collaboration with oil marketing companies, has developed an indigenous solution, Extreme Weather Grade or XWG diesel. Launched by Chief of the Army Staff General Dheeraj Seth in New Delhi, the specialized fuel remains effective at temperatures as low as -42 degrees Celsius. Fully compliant with BS6 standards, it can be used across the Army's existing fleet from tanks and infantry combat vehicles to logistics trucks without any engine modification. The technology has been developed within a year under the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat, reducing dependence on imported specialized fuels.
It's a real game changer, if I can use that word, this XWG diesel. And in fact, can get very, very fatiguing, in fact, for that man who's that driver of that vehicle, who has to stay awake whole night, keeping that vehicle on and off maybe 3 to 4 times the night over. And then you are expecting him to be having a smiling face next morning. So as I see it, it's going to really impact the overall morale and the fatigue factor that evolved in those conditions over there. So I really can fully appreciate the kind of advantage that this particular XWG is going to render.
General Seth, himself from the Armored Corps, said fuel has always been at the heart of mechanized warfare. He noted that the new diesel will not only improve the operational readiness of combat and logistics vehicles, but also boost the morale of soldiers who operate in some of the harshest environments on earth. The Army Chief also praised the collaboration between the armed forces and India's public sector oil companies in delivering the indigenous capability.
This partnership reflects what India can achieve when the courage and operational wisdom of Indian Army and scientific capability of innovative spirit of Indian industry come together.
Beyond the military, the technology is expected to benefit civilian users in high altitude and severe winter regions by ensuring greater reliability of vehicles and equipment in freezing temperatures. With indigenous innovation now supporting frontline mobility, the launch of XWG diesel marks another important milestone in enhancing the operational preparedness of the Indian Armed Forces while advancing India's journey towards self-reliance in defense technologies. In New Delhi, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
The Office of the President of India has invited renowned veteran actor Sarita Joshi and Dr. Sheila Godbole, the Director of the Indian Council of Medical Research, to attend the at-home at Rashtrapati Bhavan on the occasion of Independence Day. The invitations were extended to them in recognition of their contributions. The two invitees thanked the President for the invitation. Sarita Joshi said every citizen should serve the nation and contribute to its progress. Dr. Sheila Godbole called it a proud privilege and said she felt deeply honored to be part of the Independence Day celebrations. In sports news, India's Asmita Dey produced a spirited comeback to claim the women's 48 kg judo gold medal, beating Canada's Heidi Kwok in a dramatic contest at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow on Friday. The 23-year-old found herself on the back foot early in the final, allowing Kwok to take control of the bout. However, Asmita responded brilliantly, attacking with greater intent and leveling the scores 1-1. Neither judoka could find the decisive score during regulation time, despite a series of intense exchanges, forcing the match into the golden score period, where the first scoring action determines the winner. Asmita launched a decisive attack in sudden death overtime and earned another point to seal a memorable victory. And India's Harsh Singh clinched a historic gold at the Commonwealth Games as he became the first male judoka from the country to win the title. He pulled off an upset win over Australia's vastly experienced Joshua Katz in the men's 60 kg final. The 23-year-old, competing in his maiden Commonwealth Games, claimed the biggest title of his career with a composed and tactically astute performance against the Australian Olympian, who was widely regarded as the favourite for the gold. Prime Minister Modi congratulated Asmita Dey on a historic feat. He posted on X, and I quote him here, "A golden performance indeed. Proud of Asmita Dey for winning a gold in the judo women's 48 kg final. This performance will always be remembered and will contribute towards judo becoming even more popular. Best wishes for her endeavours ahead." Unquote. All eyes will be on former Olympic champion Neeraj Chopra as he bids to reclaim the Commonwealth Games men's javelin throw title in the final. The Indian athlete claimed the gold at the 2018 edition but sat out of the 2022 edition because of injury. The 28-year-old has returned to Glasgow, chasing a second Commonwealth Games title. Chopra, along with two other Indians, Rohit Yadav and Yashveer Singh, have advanced to the final. In the qualification, Chopra was fifth with a best effort of 79.61 meters, while Rohit Yadav and Yashveer Singh ended in the 9th and 10th positions, respectively. Arundhati Chaudhary, world champion Jasmine Lamboria, Preeti Pawar, Ankush Panghal and Jadumani Singh sail into the Commonwealth Games finals with dominant displays in their semi-finals bouts in Glasgow. Arundhati Chaudhary stunned defending champion Rosie Eccles of Wales in the women's 70 kg category semi-final. The win guaranteed the Indian boxer at least a silver medal. Olympian Jasmine Lamboria put on a dominant display to enter the women's 57 kg final after beating Lesotho's Repelang Masilela. Preeti Pawar sailed into the Commonwealth Games final by outpunching Zambia's Catherine Mwape in the last four stage. Preeti has moved one step closer to becoming a Commonwealth Games champion. And Ankush Panghal has powered into the men's 80 kg boxing final with a dominant win over Joshua Ofori of Canada. And Jadumani Singh advanced to the men's 50 kg final after outclassing Namibia's Philip Hausep 5-0 in the semi-finals. The win extended India's perfect record in Friday's semi-final bouts to 5 wins from 5. And with that, it's a wrap. You can get the latest news on our mobile app. Scan the QR code to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.